You didn't just go through something difficult. Let's be honest about that right now, before we go any further. What happened to you over these past weeks, these past months? Maybe even stretching back further than you're willing to admit. That wasn't just life being hard. That wasn't a rough patch. That wasn't the universe throwing random chaos at your feet to see what would happen. It was precise. It was surgical. And if you're being really honest with yourself, you already know that. Because the things that broke weren't random things. They were the exact things you were holding on to the tightest. The exact places where you had built your identity. The exact relationships. The exact beliefs. The exact structures you had convinced yourself were permanent. And they didn't just crack. They shattered in a sequence, almost like something was moving through your life with a blueprint, knowing exactly which walls to take down and in what order. And here you are, still breathing, still listening, still awake enough to be drawn to these words right now, in this moment, which is itself not an accident. So let that land for a second. You survived something that was designed to take apart everything you thought you were. And the fact that you're still here doesn't mean you got lucky. It means you passed. But here's what no one tells you about passing a test like this. There's no certificate. There's no moment where the clouds part and a voice from the sky says, "Congratulations, you made it. Here's your reward." It doesn't work like that. The confirmation is quieter than that. The confirmation is the fact that you're different now, and you can feel it, even if you can't fully articulate what changed. Something in the way you see the world shifted. Something in the way you respond to pressure recalibrated. And that shift, that quiet internal rearrangement, that is the evidence. That is the proof that what you went through wasn't meaningless suffering. It was initiation. Now I want you to think back. Think back to the beginning of this season. Not with analysis. Not trying to figure it out. Just feel back into it. Remember what it was like when the first thing started to crack. Maybe it was a relationship that suddenly revealed itself to be something other than what you thought it was. Maybe it was your health, your finances, your sense of direction. Maybe it was your own mind, turning against you, filling with doubt so thick you couldn't see through it to the next day, let alone the next year. And remember what you did. You tried to fix it. Of course you did. That's what we're trained to do. Something breaks, you repair it. Something goes wrong, you strategize. You pulled out every tool you had, the coping mechanisms, the positive thinking, the pushing through, the pretending everything was fine while something inside you was screaming that it wasn't. But nothing worked. And that's the part that really shook you, isn't it? Not just that things were falling apart, but that your usual methods of holding things together completely failed. The strategies that had gotten you through every previous difficulty suddenly had no traction. It was like trying to grip water. The harder you squeezed, the less you held. And in that space, in that terrifying gap between the problem and your inability to solve it, something started to happen that you probably didn't recognize at the time. You started to let go. Not because you chose to, not because you read some spiritual teaching about surrender and decided to practice it. You let go because you had no other option. Your fingers were pried open by the sheer force of what was happening. And in that involuntary release, in that moment where your ego exhausted every strategy and finally went quiet, something else became available. A different kind of intelligence, a different way of navigating. Not from the mind, not from the personality, not from the carefully constructed self that knows how to perform competence. From somewhere deeper. From the part of you that doesn't need to understand what's happening in order to move through it. From the part of you that has always been here, underneath every identity you've ever worn, waiting for you to stop being so loud so it could finally speak. If this is resonating with you right now, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next in this journey. This is what the test was actually about. It was never about the circumstances. It was never about whether you kept the relationship or lost the job or maintained the image. It was about breaking your addiction to control, your addiction to knowing, your addiction to the belief that you, the small you, the personality, the ego, the one who worries and plans and strategizes, that version of you is the one running the show. Because as long as you believe that, you're operating from a fraction of what you actually are. You're a vast field of consciousness trying to navigate reality through a keyhole. And the only way to get you to stop looking through the keyhole is to make the keyhole stop working. To make the old way of seeing so painful, so inadequate, so clearly insufficient that you're forced to pull back and discover you have eyes you didn't know about. Eyes that see in dimensions the keyhole could never reveal. Think about what quantum physics tells us about observation. At the subatomic level, particles don't exist in a fixed state until they're observed. Before observation, they exist as probability waves, as potential spread across multiple possibilities simultaneously. It's only when consciousness focuses on them that they collapse into a single definite reality. You've been living like a collapsed wave function. Fixed, defined, limited to one version of yourself, one set of possibilities, one narrow band of experience. And what this season did was uncollapse you. It dissolved the fixed point. It threw you back into the wave state where nothing was certain, nothing was solid, nothing was guaranteed. And that felt like destruction. But it was actually liberation. Because in that wave state, in that space of pure potential where you didn't know who you were anymore, where all your certainties had been stripped away, you had access to possibilities that the fixed version of you could never reach. New configurations of self, new ways of being, new responses to old patterns. The uncertainty that felt like it was killing you was actually the quantum field of your own consciousness, expanding to include more of what you actually are. Let that sink in. The thing you were most afraid of, the not knowing, the groundlessness, the complete loss of certainty about who you are and where you're going, that was the doorway. Not the obstacle. The doorway. And you walked through it. Maybe not gracefully. Maybe not with confidence. Maybe you crawled through it on your hands and knees at 3 a.m, wondering if you were losing your mind. But you went through, and you didn't go back. Even when every part of your conditioning was screaming at you to retreat to the familiar, to rebuild the old structures, to become who you were before, something in you refused. Something in you knew, even without being able to explain it, that going back was no longer possible. That the person you were before this season no longer exists, and trying to resurrect them would be a betrayal of everything you just survived. I want to ask you something. When was the exact moment you realized the old you was gone? What was happening when you felt that shift? Drop that moment in the comments, because someone else in this community needs to hear that they're not the only one who felt it. Now here's where this gets really interesting. Because what I'm describing isn't just a metaphor. It's not just a nice way of framing a difficult experience. There's something happening at a level most people never consider. When you go through a period of intense transformation, when your nervous system is pushed beyond its previous capacity, when your identity is dismantled and rebuilt, there are actual measurable changes occurring. Your brain is rewiring. Neural pathways that supported old patterns of thought and behavior are being pruned. New connections are forming. The very architecture of your perception is being restructured. This is neuroplasticity in its most radical form, not the gentle kind that happens when you learn a new language or pick up a musical instrument. The kind that happens when the system is pushed to its absolute limit and has no choice but to reorganize at a fundamental level. The kind that creates not just new thoughts, but new ways of thinking. Not just new behaviors, but new ways of being. And this reorganization doesn't just happen in the brain. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field that extends several feet beyond your body. Research from the HeartMath Institute has shown that this field changes in measurable ways based on your emotional and psychological state. When you're in a state of coherence, when your inner experience is aligned and integrated, this field becomes more organized, more powerful, more influential on the environment around you. What you just went through, the breaking and the rebuilding, was a coherence event. Your system was thrown into chaos so it could reorganize at a higher level of order. Like water that has to break its molecular bonds to transform from liquid to steam. You had to come apart to come together in a new way. And now your field is different. The signal you're broadcasting into the quantum field of possibility is different. Not because you're thinking different thoughts or repeating different affirmations. Because you are different at the level of your nervous system, your electromagnetic signature, your fundamental relationship to reality itself. You have been recalibrated. This is why things are going to start showing up differently in your life. Not because you've manifested them through willpower or visualization, but because you're now resonant with a different set of possibilities. You're tuned to a different frequency, and reality, which is always responding to the signal you're emitting, is going to start reflecting that new frequency back to you. Opportunities that couldn't find you before will find you now. Not because they didn't exist, but because you weren't vibrating at the frequency where they could reach you. People who are aligned with your new level of being will begin appearing, and people who were aligned with the old version, the one that just died, will naturally fall away. Not through conflict necessarily, sometimes just through a quiet, mutual recognition that the connection has completed its purpose. This isn't something you need to force or manage. It's already happening. You can probably feel it. The way certain relationships feel lighter now, more honest, more real. And the way others feel heavy, performative, like wearing clothes that no longer fit. Trust that. Trust the recalibration. Your system knows what belongs in this new chapter and what doesn't. Your job isn't to figure it out. Your job is to stop overriding the intelligence that's already guiding the process. If this video is awakening something in you, what we have explored here only touches the surface. My complete guide, Beyond the Frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery, walks you through the full system of 9 master frequencies, step by step, from transforming resistance into creative power to living as the field itself rather than separate from it. It is linked in the pinned comment below, but I want to go deeper here, because there's a layer to what happened that most people miss entirely, and missing it means missing the entire point of what you just went through. The test wasn't just about building resilience. It wasn't just about making you stronger or tougher or more capable of handling difficulty. If that were the case, life could have accomplished that much more efficiently. A single intense challenge. Overcome. Lesson learned. Move on. But that's not what happened, is it? What happened was prolonged. What happened was layered. What happened hit you from multiple directions simultaneously, as if whatever was orchestrating this wanted to make absolutely sure there was nowhere to hide. No corner of your identity left unexamined. No comfortable belief left unchallenged. No hidden dependency left intact. That level of thoroughness points to something beyond simple strengthening. It points to preparation. You weren't just being made stronger. You were being made ready. Ready for what? That's the question that's probably been humming in the background of your awareness for a while now. This sense that something is coming, not something bad. You've had enough of that. Something else. Something that requires the version of you that could only exist on the other side of what you just went through. Something that the old you, the pre-test you, simply didn't have the capacity to hold. And this is where most people make a critical error. They survive the difficult season and immediately try to get back to normal. They want stability. They want predictability. They want to feel like themselves again. And that desire is completely understandable. After being in the storm for so long, of course you want to stand on solid ground. But here's the thing. The solid ground you're looking for isn't behind you. It's not in the old normal. The old normal is what had to be destroyed for this transformation to occur. Going back to it would be like a butterfly trying to crawl back into the cocoon. The structure that once held you can no longer contain what you've become. The solid ground is ahead of you, but it's a different kind of solid. Not the rigidity of fixed beliefs and controlled outcomes. The solidity of someone who has discovered they can stand in uncertainty without falling apart. The solidity of someone whose stability comes from within rather than from circumstances. That's an entirely different foundation, and it's the only foundation strong enough to support what's coming next. What is one belief about yourself that completely dissolved during this process? Something you were so sure of before that you can't even relate to anymore? Share it in the comments, because naming it out loud is part of releasing it for good. So what is coming next? Let me describe it not as a prediction, but as a pattern. Because this pattern has repeated throughout human history, in every wisdom tradition, in every mythological framework, in every honest account of transformation. It goes like this. First, the call. Something stirs in you, a dissatisfaction with the surface, a hunger for something more real. You might not even be able to name it, but you feel it. Then the descent, the test, the stripping away. Everything that isn't essential is removed, sometimes gently, sometimes with devastating force. And then, the emergence. Not a return to who you were, but an arrival at who you were always meant to become. You are in that third phase right now. The emergence. And what makes this phase both beautiful and terrifying is that it requires you to step into a version of yourself that has no precedent in your personal history. You can't reference past experience to know how to do this. You can't model it on someone else's journey. This version of you has never existed before. It was forged in the specific fire of your specific experience, and it is entirely, irreducibly yours. This is why it feels unfamiliar. This is why you might be experiencing a strange disorientation even though the crisis has passed. You're not lost. You're new, and new feels like lost when you're using old maps to navigate. Put down the old maps. The navigational system you need now isn't in your mind. It's in your body. It's in the subtle knowing that lives beneath thought. The gut feeling. The quiet yes or no that arises before the mind has time to analyze and justify and second guess. You've always had access to this system, but the noise of your old life, the constant mental chatter, the performance anxiety, the need to be right, the fear of being wrong, all of that drowned it out. The test turned down the noise. And now, in the relative quiet of this aftermath, you can hear it. Pay attention to what your body tells you. When you consider a direction and your chest tightens, that's information. When you think about a possibility and something in your solar plexus opens like a flower, that's information. When you're around certain people and your shoulders creep toward your ears without you noticing, that's information. Your body has been processing this transformation at a level your conscious mind can't access. It holds wisdom about where you're going that your thoughts haven't caught up to yet. This is what the ancient traditions meant when they talked about embodied knowing. Not knowledge that lives in the head, but wisdom that lives in the cells. The kind of understanding that doesn't need to be thought. It just is. And you have more of it now than you've ever had, because the process you just went through burned away the layers of mental noise that were separating you from it. Now let me address something that might be happening for you right now. A kind of grief. Not the sharp grief of acute loss, but a softer, more pervasive sadness. A mourning for the person you were before all of this. For the simplicity of not knowing what you now know. For the relationships that didn't survive the transformation. For the beliefs that used to comfort you but can no longer hold weight. This grief is not a sign that something is wrong. It is one of the most important parts of the process. Because you cannot fully step into who you're becoming if you haven't properly honored who you were. That earlier version of you, the one who hadn't been tested, the one who still believed in the illusion of control, the one who thought being good enough would protect them from pain. That person served you. They got you to the threshold. They carried you as far as they could. And then they had to step aside so something larger could emerge. So grieve them. Not with pity, but with gratitude. They did their job. They brought you here. And now it's time to let them rest. Breathe into that for a moment. Feel the weight of it, and then feel the lightness that comes right after. Because on the other side of that grief is something remarkable. Freedom. Real freedom. Not the freedom of having no problems or no challenges. The freedom of no longer being enslaved by your own illusions. The freedom of knowing that you can lose everything you thought defined you and still be here, still be whole, still be capable of beginning again. Most people live their entire lives terrified of the very experience you just had. They build elaborate structures of security and control, specifically to avoid the kind of dismantling you went through. And in doing so, they remain trapped in a small version of themselves, never discovering what exists beyond the boundaries of their comfort zone. You didn't choose comfort. Maybe not voluntarily. Maybe you would have chosen it if you'd been given the option. But the point is, you went through the fire regardless of whether you chose it. And now you know something they don't. You know that the thing everyone is afraid of, the complete loss of the known, is actually the gateway to everything worth having. That knowledge is power. Not power over others. Power within yourself. The power of someone who has been to the bottom and discovered it wasn't the end. The power of someone who has faced their deepest fear and found that on the other side of it was not destruction, but expansion. This is the kind of power that can't be taken from you because it wasn't given to you by external circumstances. It was forged in the crucible of your own experience. It lives in your bones now. It's part of your operating system, and this is precisely why you were selected for this. Yes, selected. I use that word deliberately, because not everyone goes through what you went through. Not everyone is pushed to that depth. Not everyone is dismantled that thoroughly. And the reason isn't that some people are lucky and others aren't. The reason is that what's being asked of you next requires this level of preparation. The depth of the test is proportional to the magnitude of what's coming. Read that again in your mind. The depth of the test is proportional to the magnitude of what's coming. If you were being prepared for something small, the preparation would have been small. A minor inconvenience, a brief discomfort, a passing challenge. But that's not what happened. What happened was comprehensive. What happened reached into every corner of your existence and rearranged it. That tells you something about the scale of what you're being prepared for. Now, I'm not saying this to inflate your ego or to create some grandiose narrative about your specialness. This isn't about being chosen in a way that makes you better than anyone else. This is about recognizing that the intelligence that orchestrates reality, call it the universe, call it consciousness, call it the quantum field, call it God, call it whatever word doesn't make you flinch. That intelligence doesn't waste energy. It doesn't put you through unnecessary suffering. Every ounce of pressure you experienced served a purpose. Every moment of confusion was clearing space for clarity. Every loss was making room for something that couldn't arrive until the space was empty. And now the space is empty. Now the clearing has been made. And what fills that space next is determined by the quality of attention you bring to this moment. Not the next moment. This one. Right here. Right now. Because this is where your power lives. Not in the past that shaped you, and not in the future that's forming. In the present moment, where consciousness meets possibility and collapses it into reality. This is the observer effect in action. In quantum mechanics, the act of observation determines which possibility becomes actual. The particle doesn't decide on its own. It responds to where attention is placed. Your life works the same way. The possibilities that become your reality are determined by where you place your attention, by the quality of your awareness, by the frequency of your being in this moment. And your frequency just changed, dramatically. The test recalibrated your entire system. You're observing from a different vantage point now, which means the possibilities that collapse into your reality are going to be different. Not because the universe is rewarding you for good behavior, because physics, because the mechanics of consciousness and reality are responding to the new signal you're emitting. But here's where you need to be careful, because there's a tendency, right after a major transformation, to try to use your new capacity in old ways. To take this expanded awareness and immediately put it to work, chasing the same goals, the same validations, the same markers of success that drove you before the test. And if you do that, you'll waste everything you just went through. The goals that mattered before the transformation may not matter after it. The definition of success you were operating from may have been part of what needed to die. So before you rush forward, before you start building and achieving and doing, pause. Get quiet. Ask yourself, from this new place, from this cleared and recalibrated center, what actually matters to me now? Not what mattered before. Not what I think should matter. Not what the world tells me matters. What do I feel in my body, in my bones, in the deepest part of my being actually matters? The answer might surprise you. It might be simpler than you expect. It might have nothing to do with the ambitions that used to consume you, or it might be those same ambitions but held differently, pursued from a place of alignment rather than desperation, from fullness rather than lack. Either way, the answer has to come from the new you, not the old one. The old one is gone. And this is the practice. This is the integration that determines whether what you went through becomes wisdom or just becomes a story you tell. The practice is staying present to who you are now, not who you were, and not who you think you should become. Just who you are in this breath, in this moment, with this awareness. Because who you are right now, stripped of pretense, stripped of performance, stripped of everything the test burned away, who you are right now is more powerful than any version of you that has ever existed. Not because you've acquired something new, because you've lost everything that was in the way. Think about that. Your power doesn't come from what you've gained. It comes from what's been removed. Like a sculptor who doesn't add material to create a masterpiece but chips away everything that isn't the sculpture. The test removed everything that wasn't really you. The people-pleasing, the self-doubt masked as humility, the need for external validation, the belief that you needed permission to be who you are, the fear that if people saw the real you, they'd leave. Some of those things might still echo. Old patterns don't disappear overnight, but their grip on you is different now. They feel more like memories than realities, more like ghosts than living forces. And each day that you stay present, each day that you choose to operate from the new foundation rather than retreating to the old one, those echoes get quieter. Let me tell you what's going to start happening. And I say this not as a promise, but as a description of the pattern that follows this kind of transformation. A pattern that has repeated so consistently across so many lives that it might as well be a law of nature. You're going to start noticing synchronicities. Not the small, cute kind, like seeing repeated numbers on a clock, although those might happen too. The significant kind. The kind where you think about something and it appears. Where you need something and it arrives before you've fully articulated the need. Where you meet someone and within minutes realize that this meeting was somehow arranged by forces neither of you can explain. This isn't magical thinking. This is what happens when your internal frequency aligns with the deeper patterns of reality. When you are no longer broadcasting static. When the signal is clean and coherent, reality responds with precision. It's like tuning a radio to the exact frequency of a station. Suddenly, what was noise becomes music. The music was always there. You just couldn't hear it through the interference. You're also going to notice that your tolerance for inauthenticity has dropped to nearly zero. Conversations that are purely surface level will feel physically uncomfortable. Situations where you're expected to perform a version of yourself that no longer exists will become intolerable. This isn't you becoming difficult or antisocial. This is your system refusing to waste energy on frequencies that don't match your new calibration. Honor that. Don't force yourself back into spaces that your being is clearly telling you you've outgrown. The discomfort you feel in those spaces isn't a problem to solve. It's guidance to follow. And here's something else. you're going to find that your capacity for genuine connection has deepened enormously. The walls you used to maintain, the careful management of how much of yourself you revealed, the strategic vulnerability that showed just enough to seem authentic without actually being exposed. All of that machinery has been dismantled. And in its place is something raw and real and infinitely more powerful. The ability to be truly seen, not the curated version, not the highlight reel, the actual, full, complicated, beautiful, broken open you. This is terrifying and liberating in equal measure. Terrifying because you've spent your whole life protecting against exactly this level of exposure. Liberating because the energy you were using to maintain those defenses is now available for living. And it's a lot of energy. You might be surprised by how much vitality returns when you stop spending it on performance. Now I want to speak directly to the part of you that's still not sure. The part that's listening to all of this and thinking, maybe, but also maybe I just went through a hard time and I'm reading too much into it. Maybe there's no deeper meaning. Maybe I'm just tired and looking for significance where there is none. I understand that part. It's the part that was trained by a world that doesn't believe in meaning, that reduces everything to mechanism and accident, that insists consciousness is just a byproduct of brain chemistry, and the universe is just a collection of matter bumping into other matter with no purpose or direction. But ask yourself this: does that explanation match your experience? When you were in the deepest part of the test, when everything was falling apart and you had nothing left to hold on to, did it feel random? Or did it feel, even through the pain, even through the confusion, like something was happening? Like you were being worked on by something that knew what it was doing even though you didn't? Trust that feeling. Not because feelings are always right, but because this particular feeling, the sense that your suffering had direction, that your breakdown was actually a breakthrough in disguise. This feeling has been reported by every human being who has ever gone through genuine transformation. Across every culture, every era, every spiritual tradition, the dark night of the soul is not a metaphor. It's a technology of consciousness that uses the dissolution of the false self to reveal the true one. And you just completed the process. So here you are, standing in the aftermath. The dust is still settling. The new landscape of your life is still coming into focus. And you have a choice to make. Not a dramatic all-or-nothing choice. A quiet, daily, moment-by-moment choice. The choice to live from the truth of what you've become rather than the memory of what you were. This choice will be tested, not in the dramatic, earth-shattering way you just experienced, in smaller, subtler ways. Someone will expect you to be who you used to be, and you'll feel the pull to comply. An old pattern will surface, and it will feel so familiar, so comfortable that part of you will want to slip back into it like an old coat. A situation will arise that looks exactly like something from your past, and your system will try to respond with the old programming. In those moments, pause, breathe, feel your feet on the ground, and choose from the new place. Not from habit, not from fear, from the quiet center that the test revealed. That center is your true north now. Everything else is navigation. And here's the beautiful thing about this navigation. You don't have to get it perfect. The old paradigm said that one wrong move could ruin everything, that you had to be constantly vigilant, constantly optimizing, constantly afraid of making a mistake. But that paradigm died with the old you. The new paradigm is more forgiving, more fluid, more alive. It says that as long as you stay connected to your center, as long as you keep choosing from truth rather than fear, the path will correct itself. Detours become scenic routes. Mistakes become teachings. Dead ends become invitations to discover doors you wouldn't have looked for otherwise. This is what it means to live in alignment with the deeper intelligence. Not that everything goes smoothly, not that you never face difficulty again, but that difficulty is no longer the enemy. It's the curriculum, and you've already proven that you can pass the hardest courses this curriculum has to offer. Consider sharing this message with someone you know who is in the middle of their own storm right now. When you share these words with someone who needs them, you create a ripple in the quantum field that amplifies the transformation for both of you, reinforcing your own recalibration while opening a doorway for their awakening. That single act of sharing can become the synchronicity they've been waiting for. So as you move forward from this moment, carry with you the knowing that what you survived was not accident, but design, that the pain had purpose, that the confusion was clearing, that the loss was making room, and that you, exactly as you are right now, with all your scars and all your new wisdom and all your quiet, hard-won strength, you are exactly who you need to be for what comes next. Don't wait for external confirmation of this. Don't wait for someone to tell you you're ready. Don't wait for the circumstances to be perfect or the timing to be ideal. The confirmation is in your chest right now. That warm, steady knowing that something has fundamentally changed. That you are not who you were. That what's ahead of you is not what's behind you. That the test is over and you are still here, and that means something that your mind might not fully grasp, but your soul understands completely. You passed, not by being perfect, not by being strong every moment, not by never breaking down. You passed by being honest, by being willing to fall apart, by choosing, even in your darkest moment, to keep going when everything in you wanted to stop. That willingness, that stubborn, beautiful, irrational refusal to quit, that is what was being measured. And you had enough of it. More than enough. The universe doesn't select people who have it all figured out. It selects people who are willing to be undone in service of something greater than their current understanding. People who can hold the tension of not knowing without collapsing into false certainty. People who can lose everything and still find a reason to begin again. That's you. That has always been you. The test didn't create this quality. It revealed it. It burned away everything that was hiding it, so you could finally see what was always there. And now, from this place of seeing, from this place of knowing, from this cleared and consecrated ground of your own being, you get to build. Not rebuild, not reconstruct what was. Build something new, something that has never existed before, because it could only come from someone who has been where you've been and become what you've become. Take your time with this. There is no rush. The urgency you might feel is just the residual momentum of the old paradigm, the one that said you always need to be doing, producing, proving. That paradigm is over. What's replacing it moves at a different pace. The pace of truth. The pace of alignment. The pace of something growing from genuine soil rather than being forced into artificial shape. Trust the pace. Trust the process. Trust yourself. Not the self you perform for the world. The self that exists when no one is watching. The self that breathes in the dark. The self that survived what should have broken you and emerged not harder, but more open, not more defended, but more alive, not more certain, but more comfortable with mystery. That self is who you really are, and that self is more than enough for whatever comes next. If these words found you at the right moment, if something in your body recognized the truth of what was spoken here, then this message was part of the design too, part of the confirmation, part of the quiet way the universe says, yes, you heard correctly, keep going. Leave a word in the comments. Just one word that captures what you're feeling right now. Not for anyone else, for you, as a marker, a timestamp on this moment of recognition. So that when you look back months from now, years from now, you'll remember this was the moment you stopped surviving and started becoming. Subscribe if you want to stay in this frequency. If you want to keep going deeper. If you want to be part of a community of people who have been through the fire and are choosing to build from the ashes rather than mourn them. The test is over. You passed. And everything is about to change. Not because the world is different, because you are. And that changes everything. Now, if you felt the truth of this in your bones, you need to watch. Your entire reality is splitting right now. That video reveals how the quantum field is actively reorganizing around people who have completed exactly this kind of transformation. And it will show you how to move with the split instead of resisting it.